Welcome, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your producer and host of the show, Dr. Lino Martinez. This is your motivational podcast of people's incredible journeys. Oh, yeah, let's do this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Dr. Lino Show, A Little Less Fear podcast. Today, I would like to introduce Jason Pike, national best-selling author and book, a decorated combat veteran with multiple deployments. Lieutenant Colonel Jason Pike served 31 years in the United States Army as both an enlisted and officer, including 9 years overseas in 5 countries. Jason earned over 30 service awards and badges and survived a wicked amount of military training. Thrown under the bus and ghostlighted by his own superiors, arrests and investigations are big stories here. Jason's brutal honesty on how he did it while disclosing many secrets about how he survived this is unique. With a straightforward account of one man's journey, he inspires audiences nationwide at speaking events and shows how to be resilient and to persevere no matter what disadvantages and life struggles may happen. Welcome, Jason Pike, to A Little Less Fear podcast. So nice to have you here.
Hey, I'm very honored to be on your show, Lino. And I've got a lot of stories. You could go through many episodes, but it's 31 years in the Army and 9 years were overseas. And that's appreciated. That was a good description. That's the way it goes.
Yep. Yeah, that's your incredible description. And so, I understand that at age 7, you had an acute learning disability. Is this correct?
That's correct. I was diagnosed. Well, the diagnosis at the time, they thought it was dyslexia. Now I'm kind of thinking it's some sort of autism, maybe an Asperger's syndrome. I failed the first grade. I'm considered a national spelling. I failed English. Writing and English are my worst subjects, but I'm an author. You can go figure that one out. But I thought, and so there was not a whole lot of expectations put on me by my parents because they said, well, we can sort of just leave this guy alone a little bit. And that's, so there wasn't a whole lot of every mother and father wants their kids to, do well in education.
Right.
But
yes.
I wasn't doing it. Yeah, that's what it was. They just thought it was maybe dyslexia, but I think maybe it was some form of autism is what I'm thinking. Yeah.
And then at age 9, you were diagnosed with osteomyelitis. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, that was very painful. So I had failure as far as academics, and then I had pain and dissolving of the bone, osteomyelitis. It's a bone disease that I triggered it by jumping in a swimming pool and bumping my left knee against I don't know. We all bump our knees and things when we're kids, but this one created a bone disease where my bone dissolved twice during when I was 9 and 10 years old. And I was on crutches a lot. And sports, my dad loved sports, but I couldn't play sports during that time. I'm 58 years old, but my left knee is around 49 because it dissolved. It went to a great big ball of pus. And then through painful injections over a period of time, we were able to get that thing down and then it grew back. It grew back, it disformed. And so my left knee definitely looks a lot stranger than my right knee. So I had pain and failure were things that were introduced to me at a young age. That probably set me up a little bit in the story different than most. Yeah.
And how did that set you up as far as like your story being a little different?
I think a lot of people look at me as, well, he's disadvantaged. Maybe he's a slow learner. Maybe he's physically not as good. I went into the Army and I served 31 years, but I think knowing that I learned early on that pain and failure were just, kids are just normal. I mean, kids are resilient. I think kids are stronger than adults in many ways. And
absolutely.
They just like, okay, they scrape their knees and it's like no big deal.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
like,
they get back up
what?
and start running again or
Yeah,
doing the
start
same
running
thing.
again. An adult, let's say adult falls down, and he's like, "Oh, I scraped my knee, there's blood."
Yeah.
So so the adults are a little, and so, but I just thought that was just a normal thing that happens, and I sort of that set me up a little bit different meaning stronger, I think, compared to other people. So if you've made great grades all your high school years, and then you go to college, and you make a C, and everybody, oh, the world's crashing now. But sometimes, or if you never got hurt as a kid, and then you got hurt as an adult, it's like, oh no, I scraped my finger. But so that set me up different as far as the resilience and the grit.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And so since it set you up as far as the resilience goes, it's like you already had gone through a lot as a kid. You had dissolving bone, you had gone through injections and a little, I guess you could say a lot more pain than your average kid. And so by this time now growing up, I can imagine that you had formed a different type of resiliency than your peers.
Yeah, I feel I did. I felt that I had a strong, at the time, I just thought it was normal. I thought every kid probably goes through this stuff. I didn't realize it until later on in life where I could actually think and look back. But that's what set me up. I had a great father. There's no doubt about that. He also said, "Hey, it's all about pain and suffering." And he was sort of like, I used to be white trash. I was poor. I had to steal food from a garbage can. And he even taught me how to shoot bottle rockets at cars and, do a lot of crazy stuff like steal watermelons and things. He thought we might go poor. But so I had a good father. And then there was grit from the actual childhood. But then he said, "That's grit's good, man." It's like, it's all good, And so he was saying, this is toughens you up. And so, so I had a good father that went along with that as well. So
that's wonderful to have that support. A lot of kids don't have that type of support. And so how did you come to the realization that you wanted to go into the military given your physical circumstances?
Well, I didn't think so. At the time, we just looked at you either go to college in the 80s or early 80s, or you join the military. At least where I come from, it was either one or the other. Well, so academics was pretty much out of the question just because there was so much academic evidence that showed that whether it be high school counselors, whether it be failing the first grade, whether it just be school, so I just sort of knew that college was not going to be in the cards, even though it was later in the story. I do have 3 college degrees, but at the time I thought, well, it has to be the military, the Army, U.S. Army. And well, a good question would be, well, I did join the Army because that was either Army, you either go to college, you either go to war or you go to jail or you go into the college or whatever. So the Army was a choice, and that's where I went to. And I lied. I did not tell them about my physical frailties. I said, no, I'm fine, no problems. This was before the internet, before they could check all your records. And I said, no, I'm fine. And I just slid in that way physically from an academic standpoint. I didn't join it. So in the beginning, I didn't join I joined the National Guard. It was less than, and then I eventually went in the Army. So my academic test, what I don't know is the academic test. How did you, I don't know that question. I don't think I did. I think they just passed me on through. It was not the best. It was the National Guard. We were nasty girls is what they used to call us. We were the less than best. And so I went in that way, and then I went on active duty. So I sort of slimed my way into the military, which is considered a professional organization. So, yeah.
Was it difficult to pass the physical agility exams?
So physically, I could walk and talk and chew gum at the same time. And I could run the minimum, and I could do the minimum push-ups and sit-ups. And they built me up when I went into basic training. And I also worked on myself. But no, that was okay. I was like maybe average I was probably below average at that time. Academically, I don't know how I passed the entrance. I think they just threw me in. I just said, go for it. And they probably just needed numbers. Agility tests, yes, I could walk and I could run, but not a lot. And so, but eventually they did build me up, and I built myself up over a period of time in the Army. So.
Excellent. That's awesome. And never did you doubt that you could do it?
Oh, in the beginning, I didn't. So I almost got thrown out in the very beginning. I was the worst of the privates. We had a platoon at Fort Sill, Oklahoma in 1983. There was about 50 of us. And I was one of the worst because and it was not the physical part. It was the academic part of just trying to drink that water that was coming out of the fire hose so fast. And I couldn't get it. I couldn't the acronyms, the language, the military jargon, and all the things you're supposed to do in a quick amount of time was really, so they thought that I would be, they wanted to throw me out. So instead of throwing me out, they sent me and another private, the two worst out of the platoon, to a criminal correctional facility. Criminal correctional facility is for criminals. I was not a criminal. Me and this other guy just were not getting it. We were not adapting well to the Army. So there was a drug deal with the sergeants where they said, well, let's send these two sorry privates over there and let them get their asses kicked at a different level of hell. It was kind of like one of those scared straight programs they used to have. Let's show teenagers what jail is like.
And scare tactics.
Yeah, it's a scare tactic. It was a motivational fear tactic. And it worked on me, maybe too well, gave me a little bit more. But the other guy broke and he got out and I stayed in. More importantly than that, what the drill sergeant was trying to do was improve the entire platoon through, we come back from that facility after only 4 hours, all bloodied and broken up, and our uniforms were torn from doing all types of physical fitness and various obstacle courses at a different level of hell. And we come back all bleed. And so, but he was trying to break me. And also we were guinea pigs for the platoon. So that's a unique story of its own. I attempted to find it. I can't find anything like that, but that does not happen in the Army. Let me tell you on record, that doesn't happen. It happened to me. It's just one of those weird stories. So, yeah.
And so 31 years in the United States Army, and you experienced quite an up and down roller coaster.
That's the roller coaster.
What can you tell us about your journey on this roller coaster in the military?
The ups and the downs were really up, and then they were really down. Once I got out of basic training, once I went through that hill I described and basic training and criminal correctional facility, that sort of tweaked my mind. It's sort of like I went through a different level of hell where I thought, well, I don't care about what everybody thinks, because I think in my mind, my just newly formed 18-year-old mind, that I could probably do more than what they're telling me. I said, well, I think college is an option. I know they said they can't do it, but I said, I'm going to try college. So that tweaked me. That was a sort of a come to Jesus. Like I couldn't explain it, but I just knew that I could probably do more just because of what I went through. And so therefore I went to college. And then that's where it started as far as academics. And I went to a junior college. Everything was from the bottom. I went to a less than best, a junior college where they take anybody, lame, lazy, or crazy. Some of those, you got community colleges that will do that. And it's like, just go in, they forgive you of everything, whatever. And then I did that, and I built myself up academically, my confidence to transfer into a reputable university, Clemson University, and then I graduated there. It wasn't in engineering, it was in education, but whatever it took for me to, get to that level. And I did that. And I went through ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps. At the time, I thought, well, I can be an officer. I can be a leader in the Army. I tasted ROTC and I thought, this is nothing. And academics were something. I had to work at that. ROTC was nothing to me because I had already been through a level of hell.
Right. So it was like preschool for you.
Yeah, it was preschool. So I just sort of okay. And so I went through ROTC and that was nothing. It was the academics I had to take my time. And so, and it set me up to get a college degree and to be a leader, a commissioned officer in the military. That's how that beginning phase hit. And that's what I was looking at right there.
That's incredible. So then the ROTC basically lifted you up because you realized that you already had gone through something a lot more intensive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it set me up. It gave me a whole lot of confidence. I've got a college degree. I'm an officer in the military. I can get away with murder. But I didn't, you're not above the law. And my confidence went so level high up that I said, well, I can fly through red lights and stop signs. I can do all kinds. I can get away with, I can do anything, which is not necessarily true. The law, you also have to deal with the law. And so I did get in trouble with the law. Not only driving under the suspension of a driver's license, but also driving under the influence. And I thought that I just thought I could get away. So my confidence went from really low to too much high. Too much high. I think I could do anything. But had a quiet confidence. I was always good. I was always a humble person, but I thought I've already done what they said they can't do. But then I had to get knocked down by a little bit with the law, and that set me a little bit more straight, more on path. You can have confidence, but don't think that you're better than the law,
or don't think that you're invincible.
Invincible. I thought I was, running stop signs. I can handle it all. I've been through osteomyelitis, learning disabilities, and I'm paving them. And so, so that's in my younger years. I've got a lot of trouble, and that's how the downs. And so when you're in the military and you get in trouble, it's a different form of trouble. Meaning you're held to a higher standard and you have to face a different wind. And I just thought that I could face anything after all that. And I had to get myself knocked down a little bit, especially with the driving under the influence, where it went through a 2-year legal process and I almost got thrown out. That would be my second time of almost getting thrown out. Now, so criminal correctional facility, when I wasn't adjusting, that was just my inability. My fault was the driving under suspensions. That was one offense, and then getting to jail with that, and then the driving under the influence. That really knocked me down. It says, I can be confident, but I can't be that confident with everything. So yeah.
Jason, how were you thrown under the bus and ghostlighted by your own superiors?
Now that was not so in organizations, I was a senior guy with a whole lot of experience when this occurred. Ghostlighting.
How long have you been in the military by now?
Active duty, 18, 19 years.
So about 18, 19 years in. Okay.
Yeah. Meaning on active duty. I'd already been over 20. I had done a whole lot. I had, as far as military time, total military time, you're looking at over 20 years. But for retirement purposes, which was in my mind to get out there, it was only 18 years. And so, no, I had a whole lot of experiences. I had a whole lot of awards, and even I had done a lot. I had been deployed many times. And so when this occurred, I was a senior person in the military. I was a lieutenant colonel, which would be a senior manager. And I never knew anything about a ghostlighting or a under the bus. I understand you can make mistakes and get thrown, like I did before, but I didn't know that your own people would try to throw you. It's called a takeout or a takedown. So in the military or in the government, how this thing works, I'm trying to develop the story, is that if you become senior or whatever, mid-level manager, you're pretty much in. You've got it. I mean, you have to really kill somebody or do something really, really stupid to get thrown out. It's hard to get thrown out. You've already developed your time and grade in the military. And so people that are smart, are just mean. And if they don't like you, they can do things, create rumors to take you out or to transfer you. Usually it's a transfer. They call it passing the trash. Let's make some stuff up and let's get the attention of high-level people to either get him out or take him out. And so what happened was there was a few things that happened in this one. Every 2 to 3 years, we have to move to a different group of people in the military and to a different organization. Yes, we're still in the Army, but every 3 years or 2 to 3 years or 4, we move into a different clique, a different organization. And that's what I did. Was I went back to Korea on my third time. I'd already had a lot of experience in South Korea. I was pretty experienced over there. I just went into a different group of people where I did not get along with the things that were going on there, meaning they wanted me to do a whole lot of things that were research oriented and writing oriented, meaning towards science, where it's just my job. I disagreed where my strengths in my job were occur. And I thought that I could do better in another place. In other words, my competency level would be better in a different. It was a professional disagreement. Well, that didn't work out. Everybody's got a little turf battle. I mean, kids got their little bus stops and things. But even in professional life, we've got to, and yes, was I different? Yeah, of course, we described my differences. And they just they didn't like me there, basically, and they didn't want me there. And so I faced various allegations. I'll say I'm going to go to the first one, which was hazy, and it was more personal and not official. The first one was that I'm a pedophile. So I had my daughter was in the soul. She went to the elementary school. I went to the elementary school to eat lunch with her, and I was a playful father, but I was not a pedophile. Mm-hmm. So the rumor around the community was that I was a pedophile. Well, that was just a rumor. That didn't work. Once that didn't work, then it went to more official. I'll give them credit. If they didn't get me in one way, they tried to get me in another one. Mm-hmm. Once the pedophile thing that was a rumor didn't occur, then I became a spy. In other words, I went under a criminal investigation, an investigation of giving or passing on information to foreign nationals. This was more formal. So they said, okay, well, I had to face the wind to the Criminal Investigation Division and the Military Intelligence of the U.S. Army on charges that I was passing on government information to, foreign nationals, mm-hmm. This was also totally bogus, but right. This was more in line with official complaints. Mm-hmm. So I went from a pedophile to a spy within 2 years. And then,
wow, that's heavy.
It's heavy. It's almost like a movie. At the time, yeah. I thought I was in a movie. I thought I could be a movie character at the time.
Right, yeah.
But my anxiety went up. I thought this is going to be another time, not my fault time, where I get thrown out of the military. And I had to talk to my defense attorney. We had a defense attorney that told me that, I've heard charges and I've heard the complaints, but if you're not doing anything, they don't have anything on you. But what they're going to be doing is they're going to be following you around, taking pictures of you off post, monitoring your activities. And that went on for 2 years that I was there in South Korea, and nothing happened. And nothing.
So continuously, happened. These rumors, these fake false accusations went on for 2 years.
Well, probably 2 years, from 2008 until 2000. It was only when I was there. So once I left that assignment, everything went away. There was no more charges of any. And this was the only time. It was only in this group of people that it occurred. And I know who was behind it. Matter of fact, I tested the waters to see who was behind it. Uh-huh. I had a little bit of a rascal. I do have a little bit of a rascal in me, or a little bit of mischievousness in me. And so I was invited to a Christmas party where I saw the guy. And there was a clique of people, but I think I knew who was behind it. I went over there and I said, well, I'm going to stay here in South Korea. I'm not moving away. Uh-huh. And I knew that was a key, because I told you once I left, everything went away. But I told him, I lied to him. I said, I'm staying here. Well, he turned on his heels, walked away. The next day, that was a Friday night. The next day, on a Saturday, one of his subordinates called me up, wanted to create a professional organization. I don't want to go into the details of this, but I thought that was a strange phone call. I never heard from him before. And then on Monday, all hell broke loose with the emails saying we're going to create some professional organization. It was just another game. So I pissed someone off, and Washington, D.C. called me, because I was a senior person, and said, what the hell's going on in South Korea, Jason? I said, well, sir, I lied, and I told them I was going to stay here. That's all that happens. What about this professional organization they're trying to create? Right? There ain't nothing. It's about me lying and staying here. It ain't about nothing. This is just a game. I tell you, it's a personal thing. And so, but no, I knew who's behind it, and I did that to test what was going on. But no, if I would have stayed there, I would have been a drug smuggler, or I would have been a human trafficker. And there would be another. They would have
kept adding false accusations. There would be
something else.
False accusations.
Yeah, exactly. I do give them credit where hit them on that side, they give them a hand on that side, and so there, whatever it takes to get the attention of people. And I think when I just thinking when I told them I lied, and I said I pissed this particular person off by telling them I was going to stay, that they probably passed that on to people that were really important to try to understand what was going on. So. because they heard of all. They call it secret. There's a federal investigation of spying and giving intelligence away. And then there's pedophile. And so I think by saying that, and then they just said, I don't know, they don't have proof on it, but I think they just said, well, Jason just pissed some people off over there, and that's why all this other shit happened. But that's just speculation for me. So,
Jason, I'm wondering, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm wondering, because this is some high level stress stuff. How did you cope with this stress? I mean, this is traumatic. How did you cope with it while you were over there? What were your coping mechanisms? What did you do to calm yourself down during all that anxiety and all that stress?
Well, I had a daughter and I had a wife. And so my wife told me, just do what you're doing. Continue on your path. Everything's cool with here in this little community that we're in. So continue on with that. I did go to the chaplain just to kind of gather my spirits together, to have him pray and talk to me a little bit. I did go to a mental health counselor when it was, at the time, it was not good to go to mental health counseling. Mm-hmm. I go to them and talk to them. And then I had my family there. And then there was a few trusted friends that I would talk to, but and I would work out like a gym rat to process it out. And I learned that the left, right, left process of an elliptical machine, or just crying and laughing and whatever, giving your emotions out. Well, I was in a very emotional state, but it was an accident that occurred where I was allowing myself to grieve or to get mad or angry while I was going through physical processing, and with no technology, with just images of my head. And then it was like a vomiting, and I would do that every day. And that was another technique that I did.
That's incredible. So you had spousal support from your daughter, and some type of counseling, and the physical exercises helped you to release a lot of the stress and bring you into alignment with staying where you needed to stay and staying confident with who you are as a human being.
Exactly. You're spot on with that. And then we all know family and friends and colleagues in mental health counseling, they can help. What was really special about this thing was the accident that occurred on an elliptical machine, where I was just going through the process of, like we all work out, but then all of a sudden, bam, it's like a vomit. You get mad or sad or whatever. You see these images and you're going, and you're allowing it to come out. And that really helped a whole lot. And that was just by accident. I didn't read anything about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you mean it was by accident? You mean something literally happened to the elliptical machine and it kind of brought...
So I've always been a gym nut, but I've never allowed myself to get emotional.
I understand.
And then once that happened, I just allowed it to happen. In other words, if I wanted to, I was crying on the machine. There was sweat pouring off the machine, of course, but no. I thought I was going to break the machine, but no, I just allowed the emotions to occur on the machine while I was doing the exercises. And that's what I was talking about.
You know, what's incredible about that, Jason, is that a lot of disease and a lot of pain, a lot of traumas, that stays stored in the body unless you move your body. And you were moving your body, and naturally you went with that motion and you were releasing it, and moving your body at the same time was just what's supposed to be done in order to release any type of stresses that stay stagnant within parts of your body. So it's really incredible that you adapted that way and you were able to be resilient in a way that you didn't even know you had it in you. That's really incredible.
Yeah, I never. And so when I went through later on, I went through professional help, and I heard about the EMDR. I don't know what it stands for.
Yes.
So it's a left, right, left mechanism, where I've literally been on the floor crying with that.
Right.
And so, but that's what I was doing before that I went to the professional. I'm thinking, you know what? I've done this before, but it was in a different way.
Yeah, you were healing yourself.
I was healing myself. I was healing myself.
Naturally, without anyone training you or showing you how. That's really incredible.
And it was, I consider it an accident that occurred, and it was a good accident.
Good accident.
Right. Yeah. So, and you know what? And even today, if I'm, and I'll go, what a good technique also I've learned, I'll still do that. Not to that degree because I wasn't in that much pain, but I'll still do that. But what I've also found out was it's called cold hot therapy. In other words, get into a hot sauna and then jump into a cold pool. And in
Oof.
Korea, South Korea, and many places around the world, they'll have this, it's called a contrast effect, to where you get your blood vessels really hot and sweaty, and
Uh-huh.
then you go back and you squeeze them in. And then
Right.
you do it 2 or 3 different times. And it's really pretty cool to me. I do that. And if you can't do it in a, like sometimes you can have a gym has a sauna or a
Uh-huh.
hot, and then you go to a cold shower. But now I found a facility where it has a cold bath where I'm
Yeah,
at.
that's supposed to reset your immunity, your nervous system. It's supposed to do all kinds of stuff. I personally can't do that, but that's incredible that you can do that.
Well, yeah, it's really pretty cool. I mean, a lot of when I was in South Korea, I forgot the name, but they have a lot of them over there, and they have them in Europe as well. But hopefully they'll take off. They're in big cities here. Like if you go to I know you're in California. I think in Los Angeles, in the big cities where you find a Korean population, you'll find those facilities there. But I'll be out there hanging out with the Koreans doing those things all the time. So yeah.
Jason, tell us about your book. What's the title of it and what inspired you to write it?
So this is called A Soldier Against All Odds. It's on Amazon. A Soldier Against All Odds.
I love that.
Well, it was about defying the odds, which we talked about. It's dedicated to my father, who was the greatest influencer in my life. I'd always known that I had stories, and just talking about the first grade and just beginning to get into college, I knew that I had defied many things early on. But you don't write it. Well, most people don't write a book until you're comfortable with your family members and friends and things. My mother and father have passed away, but I thought that this would be a good time to write it. It was nagging on my head for years and years. And I said, well, I'll have to hire a ghostwriter. And I did that. And it was a 2.5, 3 year process. It was probably, talk about fear. Being vulnerable and doing the damn book was more fearful than going to Afghanistan. And I would rather be shot at. It's like, but this was a hard book. It was just because of the vulnerability to put it out. And that was the hardest part. And it nearly did kill me. Matter of fact, in my testimony on the page where I've had anxiety attacks over the book. That's okay. But when you go to the ICU and you're scheduled to die because you're sitting down stressing too long, that's where it really hit me. And I almost died there because of blood clots and things that had formed in my lungs and legs. I had pneumonia. And because I had just stressed out over the book, and I sat down too long, and I was not exercising like I was normally.
Wow.
And but I came back. I came back from the dead. No, I was three days in the ICU, but they didn't have much hope for me at the time. And but then I went to a regular hospital, and then I recovered from that. But
And
no,
that was
no,
a
no.
result of stress from sitting
It was
down and
stress sitting down and not exercising like I normally did. And I had stress that was building up because I was seeing my life events unfold in black and white. We all say we got a story. Once you put it in black and white, then it does a number to, it did a number to me. I don't know. It did a number to me. I said, oh my God, am I going to put this out there? Am I good enough? And what are they going to think about me when I put this shit out? And so that's what was in my mind. And I thought, I don't know if I can do this. And so I was stressing out. And once I got out of the ICU and I come back, then I said, well, I'm going to stand up now. I'm never going to sit down again.
Yeah.
And so I said, so I'm sitting down now, but I'm taking blood thinners, but I have a stand-up desk for most of the part. I stand up, but I said, well, you've been sitting down, stressing too much over the damn book. Well, that's what killed you. They thought I was a smoker. I said, no, I don't smoke. I'm not a smoker. And but no, that was what it was. And it was the hardest part was the vulnerability of just unleashing the good, the bad, and the ugly in front of everybody. And
I can understand that, Jason. When I was writing my book, I mean, there were chapters where I was just flowing tears, and I was just thinking, like, do I really want to say this? Do I really want to put this out there? And times where I was crying. I mean, it was really tough.
Oh yeah, crying.
But at the very end, I felt like bricks off my shoulders. Did you have the same feeling?
Yeah, there's a number of things where I thought, well, I've gotten over this, I've gotten over that. It's kind of getting over a cathartic mechanism. And always had an issue with my mother. And once I went through this and I researched it, I didn't have any problem with my mother. And some of the problems that I had, especially during the investigation, it was really, I wanted to, there's only, we talked about the investigation. That was the only time I really dreamed of killing people or maiming people. And that went down. It went from a 10 to about a 5, which is a good.
Meaning nightmares?
I'm talking about physically, in other words, dreaming of, it was nightmares, daymares, and then flashbacks. I had a lot of flashbacks of that, what we talked about. I had a lot of anxiety attacks just on that one chapter of the false accusations.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I would just like, I would walk around in the day and I just like, oh my God. And I would have these anxiety attacks on that one chapter. So that went down from a 10 to about a 5, which was good. And so, but no, it was, and then also just the crazy little stories we all have. But, you know, the ghostwriter had trained me, says the more heart you give, the more you give, the vulnerability you give, the better story it's going to be, and the more help it might be for someone, because you've got to come down to that human level.
Exactly.
The story is about success, but it's through a painful part of success. And, you know, when I was going through these ups and downs at the time, I thought I was always blessed or very lucky, or I don't know how this is happening, but I didn't expect these good things to happen, because pain and failure were just like, that's part of life from the very beginning. So I thought that at any moment I could be thrown off or kicked out, because that's how I was developed. And so in my mind, I was very thankful of the promotions and the schools and the opportunities that I had. And I thought at any moment that it could be taken away. And so just because of pain. So when that investigation and all the false accusations occurred, I thought, this is my time that I'm going to get kicked out. And it might be for things that I never did before. And I was very fearful of that. Because I didn't want to get my 20 active. I wanted to retire from the military, and I didn't want to be, because that's where my money's going to come from. And so I was very anxious about that. You know? But that didn't happen. That didn't happen.
So if a reader picks up your book, what would you say is the biggest takeaway?
No matter what phase of life that you think you're in, no matter what troubles that you think, you can always look at someone from a different angle to give inspiration and hope. This is audible. It's not, I'm the narrator and I am the author. It's coming from the horse's mouth. You're going to see true, brutal honesty. If you don't want to listen, you can listen to it, or you can see, you know, your iPod, the little sphere, you can hear it through there as a test run. But I am nothing special as far as an academic. And I did rise and I did get my degrees, inspiration and hope and survival, persistence, and a grit. I think grit is, you know, a lot of folks don't know about grit, and grit is just going through pain and dealing with it. And I don't know if a lot of people these days understand grit. You'll see a whole lot of grit. Grit was just introduced to me early, and I just took grit for granted. But grit, I think grit is good. You know, yeah.
Could you go a little deeper into that? How grit is good? I know you talked about it a little bit in the beginning with your father and stuff, but how can we explain it a little further for our listeners?
Grit is like when you have, maybe your parents, or maybe you have kids and whatever, allowing them to fail is wonderful. Right. I mean, allowing them to fall down and skin their knees, or maybe get booted off of a team, a football team or a baseball team, or allowing them to just, this is the way it is. This is part of life, and I still love you, and we can still go forward, but don't baby them. In other words, like, this is just life, and you'll get over this, and it'll go, there's ups and there's downs, and then you learn a whole lot down in the valleys, and you go through the valley. We all want to be on the mountain. So, but you can't stay on the mountain, because the mountain is not life. The mountain is either going up the mountain or you're going down the mountain. So you can create these moments with your kids or with other people to know that this is normal, and say, it's okay to be compassionate and empathetic with them when it's happening, but don't baby them and allow them to say, well, you know, you want them allow them to get the grit. And the grit would be something that would allow them to feel the pain, because you know, that's just part of life. And that's when I talk about grit, I'm talking about allow them to feel that pain or that grit go across their skin, and just say that, hey, I love you. I'm empathetic, but guess what? This is life, and you can get stronger from this. Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
love this. You can get stronger from this because you know, when as you're saying this, what I'm thinking is that a lot of things have changed generationally. And it seems that people a lot more lately are babying their kids and their children and not allowing them to fall and go through this grit. And
Helicopter,
so,
they call it helicopter parenting, which I am not I'm not a
right,
helicopter parent. I don't want to be a helicopter grandparent either. No, allow them to fail. Yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah.
because there is success and failure.
Oh
And
gosh. Oh
failure
gosh.
is not fatal and failure is not final, and neither is success is not final either. So whether you fail or whether you fall down or stand back up, it's just all a natural part of thing. And the grit part of that is allowing the person to go through it, still supporting them, telling them that you love them, it's a natural part of life, and that it's also okay to feel pain.
Oh yeah, it's okay to feel pain. And I didn't
Mhm.
really understand that until much later. It took me a while to figure it out. But yes, pain is a part of life and failure is a part of life. And matter of fact, we fail every day. If you think about it, we're probably
Yeah.
failing everything.
Yeah.
If you went down and got into the details.
Right.
But no, that's just part of it. And I like it, the ups, the mountains and the valleys and things. And but no, that's just part of life and how to raise and how to think of it. And I'm sure I'm going to be failing and making mistakes and things of that nature. And I mean, my daughter, we had Father's Day, and I told my daughter, I says, I just want to let you know, I may not have been the best father, but I did the best I could. And I just want to let you know that, I'm still love you. And I'm not good with showing my emotions. And I am trying to be the best father I can, even though you're an adult now. And she took that. She said, I understand that. And so, but we all have, and the parents, and a lot of children, and even me, would like bust their father and their mother on this, and they didn't do this, they didn't do that. But I think most people are just trying to do what they can to do the best they can. They're not trying to hurt people. They're just trying to do the best they can, regardless of the situation. And you can look at it as this or that. But I know my mother and my father, they weren't perfect. But I know at the time I'm thinking, man, I wish I could do this and this and this. But I think they were just doing the best that they could under the circumstances that they were, involved in.
Lieutenant Colonel Jason Pike, everybody, on A Little Less Fear podcast, the Dr. Lino Show. Incredible story. His book, A Soldier Against All Odds, is on Amazon. Is that correct?
It's on Amazon. Yeah, you'll find it in your browser. A Soldier Against All Odds. It's on Amazon. You find it on Audible if you want to listen to the book. And so yeah, just type it in your browser. And I'm on I've got a website, jasonpike.org, jasonpike.org, and I'm connected to all the social media on there. You'll see the social media sites there.
So on jasonpike.org, we can find all of your social media handles as well. Incredible story. Thank you so much for being vulnerable on the show, for showing your emotions, your pure heart. I can see you're just an incredible human being, resilient survivor. Your grit story really inspired me, and I'm sure it's going to inspire all of these listeners. Thanks so much for sharing all of your wisdom. I wish you, your family, so much love and light. And do you have any final words?
Hey, show up the right place. Just show up. Show up at the right place at the right time with the right attitude. You'll be doing better than most. Yeah.
I had to write this down. Just show up at the right time in the right place.
The right attitude, right attitude. You'll be doing better than most. You can be a dummy and you'll be doing better than most.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I wish you an incredible day now. Take care.
Take care, man. Take care. Bye.
Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Dr. Lino Show, A Little Less Fear podcast. If you'd like to get a hold of me, you can do so by sending me an email at alittlelessfear@gmail.com or through an inquiry from my website at www.alittlelessfear.com, where you will always find information on where to get my book. You can get my book on Amazon and Amazon paperback version, Kindle or Kindle Unlimited. And I also create incredible visual video poetry for people that are interested in marketing or even just to send a personal note to anybody or somebody that you might love. So yeah, check it out. I love it. Poetry is my passion, one of my other passions. aside from doing what I do right now, which is giving you all the motivation that you need to keep growing, to keep motivating people, motivating yourself, and to keep expanding. I love you all so much. Have a blessed day and take care. Rock on.